Good evening, televiewers, and welcome to yet another exciting edition on our program, Mountain Echoes. Today, we shall be looking at this topic, no to gender-based violence, or we could also put it, stop gender-based violence, the GBV, as we've been hearing time and again on social media, among us, in our families, even in our neighborhood. And we shall be looking at this topic with fine brains, like Madam Anne Monjong. I was privileged to listen to one of our programs when I was a kid, Hello Children. You know, I was longing to see this person who will say, good morning, children. They'll say, good morning, mama, and time and again. And she'll ask about, you have a memory verse or maybe you have a rhyme. And say, yes, madam, I have a rhyme. And say your rhyme. And I was asking. And most of them were from Liko Government School, Liko Membia. I was asking, so I need to go to government nursery school, primary school, Liko Membia before, find myself others hearing me talking on the TV. So it is a privilege. I will say it is also, it is a privilege, an honor, and also a blessing to have this kind of woman with us today. The studio, she's not only, that was in the past, she's equally a veteran journalist, like I said. She's, a trainer. She trains journalists also. She's a civil society activist. She's equally a church leader and a motivational speaker and a caring mother. A caring mother. So all those qualities are for these persons who decided to be with us today at the studio. Madam Anne Monjong, you're welcome and good evening.
Thank you very much, Father. It's always my pleasure to listen to you and to see you coordinate programs where I'm part of the panelists. So I'm very glad, and I hope you feel much better now.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're not feeling very well.
Much better than you're here. That's why I said I gave you it is a PHB for me, not maybe like those who are looking at the academic side of it, but it is a privilege, it is an honor, and it's a blessing to have you on stage with us in the studio to tell the viewers, the very special friends of Mountain Echoes, about this whole thing of GBV, gender-based violence that we've been hearing left, right, center, and some of us we just look at it and wave it, whereas it's something very necessary that we think we could put our heads together and maybe have a curb of it, or maybe an end, or why not stop it, like the flyers that will be seen at Man Kindness will showcase the screen. Stop gender-based violence. We need to stop it. We need to stop it, and it is not a job for one person. It is a job that concerns everybody, be it husbands, be it wives, be it children. It is something that all of us must put our hands on deck and to ensure that we put a stop to it. We equally have Madam Zainab Abdullahi. She's an indigenous Borobo woman in the Northwest region, and part of it is that she's an alumni of Kaduna State Polytechnic. When you hear about Kaduna, I'm thinking of Nigeria, if I'm not making a mistake, and she has a diploma in public administration. And one of the things that caught my attention very important in her life is that she is the founder and executive director of this whole thing they call Dignifying Women. Dignifying Women Girls. She's going to tell the viewers, and so you could not be having this kind of program without bringing somebody on board like her. So, Madam Zainab, you're welcome and good evening.
Thank you for that, Ines. Thank you so much. I'm privileged to add my voice in this campaign of 16 days of activism, because it's a continuity of what we started since on the 25th, and we are moving ahead to reach on the 10th of December, which is Sunday, to see that we end the program. But it's not that we have ended the work. We continue doing it as part of our own daily activities.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before we get to the next person by your side, I would just like maybe tell the viewers about this whole issue. Talk about dignifying women girls. That you're keeping why don't we dignify men,
sure.
Boys also, or Mr. Boy is going to do that, or he's going to be the founder and director of that.
Yeah.
What does it mean in a summary?
Yeah, that is a translation from my dialect, which is Daraja, Bororo Development Association. Daraja means you should dignify the women, because my culture, we were always like put behind. A woman is not supposed to come in front. Yes, by my background. Yeah, sure. So I said that these women need to be given their dignity and given their voice, and also be showcased in the world to know that they can, and they can do something.
That's very important. So from that, I could draw a conclusion that you're following the footsteps of Jesus Christ, always bringing the women at the forefront, that they are not the persons who have to stay at the background. Yeah, thank you very much for that. And we cannot be talking about this whole topic without bringing maybe a gentleman on board also, or else we'll be saying that it's gender bias. So, Mr. Boaivo, good evening. You're welcome.
Good evening, Father. Good evening, fellow panelists and viewers of Divine Mercy. I'm happy to be here today to talk about this topic, which is something very, very important in our community today, because this aspect of sometimes gender-based violence, it is very, very common, and one of the ways in which we can be able to address it is by talking about it, looking at the causes, looking at the effects, and see the way forward. How can this be addressed in our community today?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bo. I think there's someone who is always here. You said they call it Daraja? Daraja dignifying women or women girls, you know, to bring them up to what God has created them to be. Looking at this whole thing of, you know, so how did you what are the things you put together, you know, to make sure that you dignify these girls or women?
The first thing I'm doing is promoting their education.
Yeah.
I have to empower them education-wise. I have to give them livelihood skills. I have to train them in a way that at least in any circumstances they can stand. And Daraja is an organization that is mostly working on their sexual and reproductive health rights. And we also do the adult literacy for those of them who were not privileged to go to school. But we follow them up in their homes to see that we give them daily trainings so that at least they can learn how to communicate and learn how to bring up their children, and also become good mothers
in the society. Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Zenat Abdullahi. Since Madam Anne is here, there's some persons just looking at the topic, they'll be asking themselves, what is GBV? You may not be surprised. Don't bother that the social media is there. Coming on the social media is very important, but there are some persons who only go put their heads maybe on TikTok, and from TikTok from morning till night. And there are some other persons who might have heard of gender-based violence, but they're not too sure of what it is. And so I think maybe at this beginning it will be necessary to make them our followers, our viewers, especially the friends of Mountain Echoes who are there by the screen, to know what is this GBV.
Rightly, as you say, many people just know that GBV is gender-based violence, but what does it entail? How does it even come in? Because when some people hear gender, they're thinking of women.
Yeah.
Gender is a man and a woman. And so gender-based violence just simply means violence that is perpetrated on a human being, whether you are a woman or you are a man. Once there is a violence against you, we call it gender-based violence. And then looking at it more closely, we want to look at, when you talk gender-based violence, there are some arms of it, like domestic violence, that is so prevalent. And so that's all what it means. So that when somebody hears gender-based violence and the child asks you, just say that this is violence that is perpetrated on a man and a woman.
Yeah.
You know, that is simply what it is. If somebody hurts you, somebody hits you, somebody insults you, somebody does something to you, that's violence. And so it is violence against your person.
Yeah.
Maybe a woman, maybe a man. And I like to say we of my organization is Voices for Women, and we work a lot on that, because we realize that many women were going through a lot of violence and they did not know it was violence. If somebody insults you in a kind of way, that's a violence that somebody has perpetrated against you. So gender-based violence simply means that something that you do to somebody that is not right, that's painful, that's hurtful. That's what it means when you hear gender-based violence.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam, for that clarification. Like, I got someone today when asked, Father, what are you going to treat? I saw it on your status that this thing is for women now, this women kind of thing. Is there not something for me? Is not something for men? Why this whole thing? Then, and he was attributing that to, you know, that's why you see them doing women and gender studies, so it concerns with women. So thank you for that explanation. As many persons, when you're talking about gender-based violence, they see more of kind of a woman thing. Let's call it a woman thing. It's not, men has little or nothing to do with that. But then from our definition, it is clear that this whole issue concerns the male and the female. You know, it is not more for women and maybe lesser for the men. So we thought it was necessary we get into it. Mr. Boy, just looking at this topic, you know, a stop or no to gender-based violence, you know, as a man. In your neighbor, what do you think about it? Just look at what we have today in our society and the topic.
Yeah, as Madam Anne Riley gave the definition, it is violence against the person, the human person, be it male or female. Now our society gradually looks at it more on women, and because most probably the occurrences in our society greatly fall on women, you know, especially on abuses on various. We have physical, we have psychological, and other various abuses that come up in the society. We see generally the greatest impact falls on the woman, and that's how the society tends now to look at it. Father, it is very, very good today because we address it. They say sometimes some victims actually don't know that they are falling in that same situation, and then sometimes others who do that, they may not actually, sometimes they know intentionally, but sometimes they don't know the impact it causes on others. You know, there are various situations. As she brought up an issue on insult. Insult. Sometimes we give some, especially to ladies, they insult them somehow, which is some very carnal words being used, you know, and those words are really hard. They're hard. Then we look again in our society, which is almost like a male domineering. I talk about society which seemingly is male chauvinistic. Locally, some people have been converted their wives or ladies as their punching bag. They tend to any little thing, there's a little argument, they tend to go physical, and that has been able to result to something very, in the number of people who've had situations of dead cases. People have gone dead. Actually, I've seen cases where actually not on the event, but the after effect of somebody who was beaten up by the husband.
So anyway, this is modern time, and we encourage the young men and young men outside there to know how to treat these ladies. Generally, it is not very maybe very nice, or to listen that maybe this man has punched the wife. It used to be in the past, but it's so common nowadays with the young people, and so we thought it's necessary we handle this. And we've asked, after looking at the meaning of gender-based violence, Madam Abdullahi, what are the types of these, so much so that we concentrate ourselves and then remove, because maybe some persons may consider some of those things out of ignorance, may call them perhaps ignorance, something. They may not be aware of the fact that what they are doing at this particular time is gender-based violence. They are violating something. They may not be aware. So what are some of the types of GBV?
What is happening is that, like most of the question that you have just asked, the thing is that the cultural aspect that we grow with, like a man is dominant, the patriarchal thing in that man, that is what is really is making the man to know that a woman have to be under him. And that is why we, the civil society, we have changed the narrative of addressing the situation now. We think that we better bring the men on board, we bring the young boys on board, and then we start educating them the dangers of this GBV. Because you are violating their human rights. Even asking a woman, how do they call it, her sexual reproductive health right, she will need to ask her opinion before she has to be pregnant. But people are looking
there's supposed to be dialogue
between the two couples. You don't really need to violate her because that she has to put to bed. Even when she's seeking her medical attention, when she's having a problem, it's her right. You don't need to stop her from
So this GBV happens even in marital homes?
That is where it is even happening. And most often, the emotional aspect is really even there. That's why we really call on psychologists to really intervene, because this thing needs to be addressed. Even the psychosocial support needs to be addressed on that, because there are so many men, even more men, are also violated by their women. That's something that people don't know. Yes, there are some men that are passing through a lot in their own house.
And they stay quiet.
And they stay quiet, they don't speak out. And that's
I'm sure Madam Anne has maybe some of the experiences that you can share with the viewers. You know, they put on maybe their suit, and you see them by the street, and you remind them that it's almost time for, you know, for work is almost over, and they'll tell you they have 1 or 2 things on their table to clear over us. They're just thinking of, you know, when they get back to the house, it will be held there. You know, they just want to go there and sleep, and then the next day off, they're in the job site. So maybe, like what Madam has said, so it's real that this thing happens even in in the house is maybe marital, those who are officially married.
Yes, that's where it is, because Zainab said it. And most of the time the men cushion it. They don't speak out.
Yeah.
They keep it to themselves because they want to say, I'm the man.
Yeah.
You see somebody dying inwardly but cannot express it because he is a man.
Yeah.
But we are encouraging them that when you also, because there are some women who are really violent, you know, nagging. When the man goes out, he just thinks of going back home and say, I will not go. Because when I get home, noise will start. I will not sleep. I will not do this. You know, that's violence. So they should speak it out. And just like what Zainab said, we are trying to change the narrative. We want to bring the men on board. Let the men tell us their own stories. We've got lots of stories from the women. Let the men also come and tell us the stories. Especially during these 16 days of activism, we're trying to do a lot of campaign talking to the men. And Father, I'm sure you would have been asking that why are they on with you know, with orange colors.
Orange, yeah.
These orange colors are for, you know, to orange the world, to make the world know that the world should be peaceful. Because, you know, when the world is at war, you cannot have peace.
You cannot have peace.
And that war will go right down to the house. And the women suffer the most, but the men too are also suffering. So we are saying that GBV should have a stop, as you say, stop to it. Because when the children, they grow up in that, there are some children that grow up in the spirit of gender-based violence within their homes. Yeah. And they just know that anything they have to do must be violent. They take it even to school, they take it to their neighborhood, because they see their mother and father always fighting, always shouting at each other. So I think you are just saying, like we rightly say that, you know, if you can stop the gender-based violence, the society will be a more comfortable place for everyone to live in. And during this 16-day activism that it had been on the ground, it started on the 25th of November, many civil society organizations have gone to different areas, even schools. You can bear with me that of recent, the uprise of violence has been terrible in school. That children are fighting themselves, killing their friends, killing their teachers. You know, a child goes to school with sharp objects. That's the spirit of violence that we are preaching against. So take this spirit to schools to try to talk to our children that we need peace, we need to be peaceful. And then when they listen peace in school, when they get back home, they should have peace. So that you see, we'll be, just like you say, at one point we should not even think about gender-based violence anymore. If it is going to, if it can be possible, because we can make it possible. We are those who perpetrate it and we can stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Madam. Mr. Book, and maybe we tell the viewers maybe there's some types of this gender-based violence. Could maybe just list them out before we go for the root causes of GBV, Madam Anne and Madam Zainab. They're going to tell the viewers the root causes, because there are some ones that are just like superficial, but there are things that are within. It's like, you know, if you don't cut them from the roots, you go hang by the branches, it will keep on surfacing time and again. So Mr. Bo will just get to, well, what are the types, we say types of the types of GBV.
Okay, Father, thank you very much. I have some few types here. One is physical violence, and that physical can go on battering, fighting, and so on. Sometimes it can be the use of weapons, like guns, knife. We've had situations where some people have been butchered, especially recently. You got it over the TV and newspapers, where people have been butchered with cutlasses and the use of weapons. That involve what we call physical violence. We also have...
Yeah, sorry to cut you short. We're talking about the physical violence. It brings us to the knowledge of, I'm sure Madam Anne is going to say later about that, the cultivation theory. You know, people seeing what happens with John Cena and the others, and they want to, you know. what do you think about that? Of course, those theories were not just written for the sake, you know. The cultivation theory comes out there clearly, because those things, what they see on TV and
they want to practice it. That's one of the things. That's why we also advise parents to control what their children watch on TV. We know it's difficult, but we can be. But most of the physical violence is gotten from the media.
Yeah.
Let me call it on the media, because if you see how children watch people boxing, fighting, no, they're doing it for entertainment, but children don't look at it that way. They take it for real. And then they go to practice it on their own friends, and you see a child kill the friend because the other they were fighting and the actor died. You know, so he wants to do and do it in reality. So those are some of the things, as you say, further cultivation theory is really having a toll. on our families, and we need to do something about it. It's very important. We need to watch what our children are watching. We know we are busy, but I've always advised parents to create time for their children. We are busy, but our children are also part of our responsibility to care for them. So if you plan it well, we can help them too.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. Bo, we'll just continue with the time. So I'll still be coming back to Madam Anne Monjong. Someone has just caught my attention. Father, ask them about this card thing where women sit with your children watching, and many things are happening with your children today. So you're going to tell us something related to that. Yeah.
Father, that is actually good. There was one time, I think it was in 2000 when I was in teaching Kali School, Monimba. Yeah, the Advent, that film Isakaba just came up. And I said, the children got up one time with sticks.
Yeah.
And they chased another one and got the person while beating. Yeah. And we had to ban them to really
drag. That the person was a witch.
Yes, they do Isakaba.
Anyway, we get into that, Mr. Bo. Can you just tell us about the various types of
we have physical violence.
Yeah.
They say don't have verbal. It can go to harsh words, you know, or treated, you know, insults and others. And next we have what we call psychological violence. We have the psychological violence. They also have sexual violence.
I'm sure that's what Madam Zainab said. It happens more in marital homes. You need to dialogue with your husband. You need to dialogue with your wife. You know, before you think of having the next baby. You know that God gives, but there must be dialogue. Don't just come after, you know, you're very high and then you think that you must have the baby this time around. So it must be dialogue, and we have to tell especially the men and the women also. So it's vice versa. Like she said, men will prefer to stay quiet. Not that they don't have things to say. So it is an opportunity for them to tell us. When you tell the story, you can be helped. But if you stay quiet, it becomes so difficult. Yes, Mr. Po.
So we have psychological. Actually, you said it falls on both sides, either the male or the female. There are sometimes people, maybe sometimes the man does not come out because he's ashamed not to be called an or a weakling. You know, so, and you have the situation of the woman. So it goes in. Some people stay in either maybe the woman in the home and then getting that psychological trauma, the violence and so on. Then we have what we call the sexual violence. The sexual violence. Somebody, when I was teaching me marriage, there was sometimes somebody asked me, one of the students, excuse me, sir, I say yes. They say, can a man rape the wife, or can they be raped in marriage? I say yes. They can be raped. They can be raped in marriage. In as much as we indicate that within the marriage relationship, getting the conjugal sex, we don't have to deprive one person from the other, but it doesn't mean that we go violent. There need to be dialogue, as Madam Zainab brings up. So we have socio-economic violence also. Then we have domestic violence, which is very common in our society, or what we call intimate relationship, domestic violence, which is very common. And for the children, we grow up in home where constantly you have that. They will learn to grow up to be bullies. Then we have what we call harassment. They call especially sexual harassment in our community today. Yes, those are the common ones.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Zainab. Do you have something to add on that, or maybe we'll go directly to our root causes for this whole thing?
Yeah, Father Enes, you know, the root causes of this thing, I've earlier started by talking about the norms, our tradition. Those are some of the causes, the root causes of those gender-based violence, like the female genital mutilation, the early marriages. You know, all those comes from traditional our parents or our grandfathers were doing this. They were thinking that it's culture, but whereas they were violating the rights of these women. Yes, even this, like in the far north, when they talk about circumcision, you see, they do circumcisions for young babies, but in a sense, for them, they do it maybe at the age of 7, that the child needs to have pain. That is what we talk. We are mixing now religion. We are mixing culture. All those is another is violence. So these norms, at least we need to address it. It's not like we are fighting, because like when we women talk, they say we are bringing our gender issues. We are bringing feelings. It's not feelings. We really need to speak out. We really need to tell these people. We need to talk to our traditional leaders. We need to talk to our religious leaders. We need to talk to our parents, our grandparents, and tell them that these things, they are violating the rights of human beings, which is not correct.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Zainab. And I'm sure Madam Anne will also maybe added to what she must have said. You know, what are some of the root causes again to GBV?
The root causes, you know, just like Zainab said, mostly they come from our culture because, like we say, you know, the man knows that he is a man. He is the head of the family. And he has the right to take the decisions. The woman should just follow. And so when they are having challenges of not dialoguing, to talk, to discuss things that will help them, violence comes in. Talking about, for example, economic violence. A woman knows that she can do some little business and earn money for the family, but the man says, I've not authorized you to do it. Yeah. Violence comes in. So you see all those things, it's a kind of conflict of position. Who is who? I am the man. You are I'm in charge. The woman, you don't have a right to do this. Yeah. And you can deprive a woman from bringing in income to the family just because you want to say you are the man. But the family is not living very well. Yeah. Unlike you would have given room for the woman to do what she wants to do. So you see, all these things are root causes. You tell the woman that I married you with my money, you are my property. Mm-hmm. So you don't have any rights to say anything when I say that it is this way. That's a root cause. Taking a human being to be property for you becomes a problem. An object. I've also had a problem with some women. Sister, my husband has bought my mbanya. Mm-hmm.
You work the money.
My husband has bought me my mbanya. Who is your mbanya? A car. You see how you degrade yourself. Mm-hmm. You put yourself at the level of a car. And I said, no, don't say that. I said, that's property. Are you property? Mm-hmm. You know, so some of those things too, you know, they cause problems for us, because when your husband buys something for you, value it like property. Yeah. Don't relate that thing to you. You are a human being. Because once you start relating to yourself, you bring yourself down and there is a problem. You start having problems. So we are saying that, you know, in as much as most of the root causes come because of, you know, the struggle for position, for power in the family, for this, let the woman also make herself dignified, just like Zena was saying. If you make yourself, by making yourself dignified does not mean that you should not value what your husband does for you. But what your husband does for you is something he's doing for you like a person, not because he's doing it because you are property. That's why you see the man can sit around and say, you are my property, I bought you my money. Mm-hmm. No. And then we discourage parents not to give their children out of marriages on exorbitant amount of money. You tell somebody want to marry your child that the man should bring you money 2 million because you send your child to the university. Mm-hmm. The man should, so everybody says, give me 5 million. I train my child up to this level. Once you put money tag on your child, that child will be treated like property.
So there's a problem with bride price.
Yes, bride price. We should watch it very well. Because parents that have given out their children a very high bride price, the children end up having very challenging moments in their marriages because the man keeps referring to how much he paid.
Then what about tradition? I'm sure Mr. Bo, your tradition, they keep on paying they never finish or maybe complete bride price. I don't know, there's one tribe.
Exactly. Wait, let me come in. There are some even marriage, when you get married, the bride price is never finished. So take very little at the beginning because it never ends. Yeah. When you take so much of it, when you go back to ask again, they start treating their child like that real property that they bought. So I advise parents to always take very little. I've given my daughter out of marriage, and I told them that I can't take much money from you. I take very little money to give to the parents who are directly concerned. You know, grandparents, they know that tradition these days. I said, but you cannot pay my child. You cannot pay money for my child, because I want that the day is not moving. You don't stock her in because you spend 5-10 million on her. Yeah. I spend this money on you. You are not going to anywhere. If you want to go, I'll kill you. So parents should have it in their mind, and that will actually help curbing this gender-based violence that we're having in our homes and marriages.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam. And Mr. Bo, what do you add on what Madam Zainab and Madam Anna said already as far as the root causes are concerned? Because if we don't know them, it will be difficult for us to move ahead. Yeah. For example, already handling our bride price, so it concerns our parents, especially those back in the villages, those who are custodians of the laws, because they remind you time and again that you need to bring oil, you need to bring a cow, you need to bring this, all those things and the rest. And where are those things even going to? Start asking ourselves, are we selling out our sisters, selling out our daughters to people to buy? and then you're already you're promoting something. You're bringing in another kind of difficulty that for that child or that lady in question when she gets finally into the marriage, into a marital home. So what do you think maybe will be added on the root causes of this GBV?
Yeah, Father, actually my tribe is one of the tribes in Cameroon that asks for exorbitant bride price.
How much?
You know.
So it was not just a coincidence that we invited him to. It was not just a coincidence, of course.
They don't ask for little, they ask for great, and yet it's still not enough because they will still keep on asking.
Yeah.
Even though they have asked for very great, you know.
So I will not get married to that kind of tribe. I want to get married, of course. Yeah, prefer I'll go to maybe
pay.
Madam Zainab cited another issue here which I think is very pertinent, the female genital mutilation.
Yeah.
And we think about the gravity of the impact that it causes. Though sometimes I try to find out the perpetrators. Now it's not a case of a male issue. We start to look at those people who are exercising that. A good number of them are women who exercise to honor young girls who are coming up, you know, following some tribes in there and using very crude method, you know, which inflicts a lot of pain. So far I carried on research on that, and I discovered that their notion is to, you know, one of the notions greatly they try to talk about to prevent them promiscuity. Yes, and that is a great notion which they have, and which for me is not justifiable. That one actually needs to be condemned because after let's say it is very gruesome, a very gruesome act which inflicts a lot of pain and then goes against the dignity of the individual. We need to denounce it so greatly. One other aspect we have in the aspect of causes, is that some parents to sell, let me use the word sell in quote, their children, young girls, for marriage, so that at least they can get some small money to be able to move. So the situation of employment and poverty, it gets them to early marriages and to find themselves in that those harmful practices, you know, and it increases marriage for young persons just because of poverty, which is actually against the law. You know, in Cameroon we talk about minimal age for girls to be 18 years, and 21 for boys, but a good number of girls get married in that stage lower than that 18, 16, you know, even 14, 13, you know, which that is a violation again of the right of the individual. Now we move again to what we call there is education, lack of education. Education is very, very important. A good number of people who live, you know, the high rate of actual illiteracy, it reduces the mentality aspect of reason, and that impacts it forces in the society. Go back to see in the traditional African society or in our community today, a good number of those people. Madam Anne is citing an incident about her daughter, for example, because an educated lady. She knows what it entails. She'll be able to diagnose all the other aspects, look at the impact, and then see how she can be able to resolve it. Now we talk about the aspect of the community. What effort do we make as individuals? So the education is also very important. It also goes with sensitization as what we are doing now, because it's not only academics. There are some people also, they could be academic giants, but they are illiterate in some particular fields, you know, which the lack of education is also a big problem in here. Now we have what we call young parents. A good number of these young parents. Most of them, sometimes they say to me that most of the early marriages, whether they have not done boxing before, they want to practice their own ring is the house. They do a lot of boxing. A good number of young people, you know, they go violent with insults, you know, fighting constantly because that youthful exuberance sometimes. So these young parents, they because they are too young and immature really in relationship, they get to indulge in, you know, violence.
It's sorry to cut you short, Mr. But don't you think that maybe the government has to do something as far as this is concerned before we start looking at maybe consequences and the rest, and maybe how can this be prevented? But we'll just try to handle this at the moment. What do you think about it? You know, because they go to the court wedding and the rest, all those things, and they are checking all those documents. Don't you think that maybe it's high time, maybe things matters like that, you know, they have to, you know, to look at them again, you know, maybe 18 years, even the 18 years, they must maybe to check maturity. Is not just 18 years, but other things that they need to put together. What do you think about that? Because more like somebody made mention of it, I'm sure we'll be trashing that, we'll be looking at that next week. the number of persons she had an opportunity to visit, is it the court or what? And the number of young people who came for divorce, it was so alarming. He said, Father, what are you people doing? And I said, it's not just the priest. He said, Father, what are you people doing? That was because she was not, the thing was so, it was a sad event. That the number of persons she saw, and he said that young people, he said, Father, I didn't know the person that passes around Moliko every Saturday, you know, that are playing whoa, 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 and the rest. And so we'll be looking, so there is a problem there. This early marriage is not just the one that Madam Zena talked of, that we send our ladies to, or maybe our young girls to get married, but the young girls and boys, this time around, you see them 18 and 24. It's no. But in the past, we were going on, Mr. Bo, I'm sure you testify with me that we know that there are those who get married, you find a man of about 45 years and the wife maybe 30 years. You know, you could, so much that these are already mature persons, not just in your sizes, but then with your brain also, that they can put things together. This time around, somebody is 17 and the husband, the wife is 17 and the husband is 21. What do you expect them?
And further, one other thing with that is just the fact that most of them, they get married without going into courtship.
No.
We have always advised that courtship is very important.
Yeah.
Because in courtship, you understand the man you want to marry to and the woman you want to marry to. But this excitement, this, I don't know how to put it. You meet a boy today, tomorrow you are getting married. You know that the boy, what is the boy's character? What is the girl's character? They start discovering the character when you have already signed the marriage.
Or
the
online.
Next thing, or online. The next thing you go to, you are going to court because you want to go and ask for a divorce. It's really alarming and it's disturbing.
Right, and it's the children's right for us to bring them there for their children. They get up early, they are gone. They don't even, the children come back from school, the parents are not there. They even, some parents even come back while the kids are already sleeping. You don't even know what the child is going through. And some of these children may be passing through this violence that we are talking about. They may be passing through this GBV that we are talking about, but they don't have somebody that they can tell. Who would they go and tell the stories? The next thing is their peers. And maybe when they go to those corners where they are telling the story there, they violate them again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Zenab. I just wanted us to handle that particular one. Mr. Bo, we after looking at the causes also, it would be necessary, maybe we'll just go directly to the effects or maybe the consequences of this whole thing that has been disturbing our society. And let us not forget, we need to come back to this particular series, the Filipino series. The lady that I gave a lift today from Sopot to Moliko was really very, 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 very angry about these things, that parents are not, some parents, like she said, are not doing their best, and many things are copied from that, and they put it into practice, whereas it's not just really the best. So what do you think are some of maybe the consequences of the effect of this GBV in our society today?
Yeah, we have what we call the physical, which goes to psychological or mental. Sometimes I've come across discussing with some friend. A friend who was a lady, and said, "I hate men bitterly. That I hate men." There are some people who have been victims, victim of serious brutality.
Yeah.
That makes it comes them to have a psychological trauma and develop, a barrier towards a member of the opposite sex. And sometimes it leads to mental problems. Yes, mental stress and depression. And then we have what we call, there is partial or permanent disability. There are cases where somebody's eye has been come off, and then sometimes leg broken, or there's some permanent disability, and that can nurse a great anger and anxiety and fear, towards especially maybe a young girl who just gets to maybe in a relationship, and then you just start thinking maybe in their job site. It occurs also in the job site. What about a young girl who is a typist, for example, or who is a secretary to the boss, who wants her out, and she resists because she wants to reserve her dignity, and then it's like, okay, constantly each time you have query letter. Now just imagine you are seeing the same man every day, and there is nothing that you can do. You cannot say, because you make a word in there, he can write the next, and then you either be transferred to acquire or you can be sacked.
Yeah.
So some of those aspects it brings. That is what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, nightmare, and so on. So all those thoughts. It also brings shame and self-blame. Sometimes some people regret of having gone into a relationship. Maybe a man, a woman. We found a case of the sort of called escapism. Their best comfort is in beer parlor. Immediately they close work, they go to this thing, they go to the bar. Then they come back, always find themselves permanently in
and they tell stories there, good stories.
Drunken stupid. You see they relax. When they come back home, they don't smile, father. They don't smile. Immediately as they are coming back home, their countenance changes.
Yes.
Because they know that they are getting close. So, Father, those are some of the things.
Yes, I'm sure maybe and Monjong, maybe there are some of those things you add also consequences.
I just want to add that some of the effects or consequences are that, you know, because of gender-based violence, some young girls get unwanted pregnancies. And unwanted pregnancy most of the time bring in complications during delivery that can even lead to the loss of lives. So that's one of the major things that most of the young girls go through. Then, you know, another one is that, you know, because of that, you see this idea of many young girls or boys contract STIs and HIV during that during the period of maybe rape or some whatever, because you know rape is one of those very hard GBV that men or boys perpetrate on children, especially young children. I just had a case that they brought to my office, I think last week, and they were talking about that man was talking about his daughter who is 9 years old, that the son of the landlord keep perpetrating, you know, violence on that child by, you know, intimidating the child, wanting to rape the child by intimidating the child. And the child was like 9 years. She's afraid. She does not want to open up. And anytime he wants to rape the child will try to raise an alarm because the father is a worker, and the mother is not with them. So the girl is virtually at the mercy of that landlord's child. And so a good Samaritan around discovered that something was going wrong and called the man's attention that check out on what is happening with your daughter. That's when the girl opened up that the boy has been trying to sleep with her. Anytime he will take her, open her clothes, and is fondling her, touching her in all kinds of places. Then when she cries and says she will tell the father, then she said, if you tell your father, I'll kill you, you will die. So the child keeps keeping it until this man, the other neighbor, discovered and then brought it to the father of the child. So they were so furious and they came to my office. Now what can they do? I just directed them to the gender desk. We have a gender desk in Tico, in the police and in the gendarme. I said, go there. Go and see, first of all, the subdivisional delegate. Then the delegate will link you up. You know what happened? When they even called the boy and the father to come, the boy just said, the father said he's not coming. Then the wife said, any money they want, she will pay. Yes. You see how mothers lead their children into crime? Okay, means the mother is supporting what the son is doing. Instead of rebuking him and taking him for caution, because maybe if she goes and says she did not know that the gender desk can advise and tell them what to do, but she was instead boasting that any money they want she will pay. So because they were doing that, they had to arrest the father, and they said until they bring the boy, the father will be in detention. So what am I saying? I'm saying that these effects, the effects of gender-based violence on children, that little girl is already being traumatized at her age. She's traumatized. She was telling the father that she cannot live in that compound again. It's not possible. Because that boy will eventually rape her. He will. So you see, those are some of the effects on the young people, on the small girls, the little children. So it's very challenging, father. Really challenging.
Madam Enough. To add what Ma-Ann is saying, like even talking about the effects of it, some of us the mothers, like what we have said, keeping our marriages. Most of those things happens every day inside our own houses. We have cases where a father is even raping his own children But the mother will say, don't say it.
Don't.
I want to protect my marriage. You should not spoil my marriage. So those are the things. And another one is that our neighborhoods, let us learn how to talk. Let us learn how to speak out. We have seen cases where many women are dying every day. Some of them don't want to speak out. Every day they are being punched, they are being beaten inside their homes. They don't want to talk, they don't want to speak out until when it will reach to death. We have just of recent, we have seen what happened in Douala, where one woman was killed in the hospital. She was killed in the hospital by her husband. He was beating her, and where were the nurses? Where were the people around? Were there no security guards to rescue this girl? Yes.
They're observing and filming.
That's what society
sent to the world.
Okay, let us see. Let's talk about speaking out. There's a case in Edea. It's on social media. A father and his sons.
They're raping their
sister and his daughter. And she has even had big boys. They're already running around the compound. And what I'm trying to say is that let punishment be given to these people. Because most of the often, father, we handle such cases. You take the case to the police. Tomorrow, the person is out. So us the frontline activist defenders who are handling such cases, we are afraid. Because tomorrow, if you handle such a case, the boy can come out and kill you. That you have taken him to the police or so that we need to be very careful. But if there is a punishment on that, today you report this case. Tomorrow the person is already out. So what are we saying about our security? What are we saying?
Madam, I think that there is punishment. If it is not implemented, it's not that there is no the human rights. There are those various penal codes there. If it is not executed, then it is not executed. Sometimes I used to say that there are more qualified people out of the prison than those who are inside. There are more qualified people out of the prison yard than actually those who are inside. Now, some of those people will go free in there. It doesn't mean that they should be. There is penalty. If it's not applied, then it's just that it's not applied. But if justice, we say that justice be maintained, firmly, then that will be good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bo. Madam Kindness, could we maybe see some pictures there? We have pictures for this whole issue of gender-based violence, and we'll maybe read some of them, and then sexuality is not on invitation, and the rape culture. Yeah, the others there, we could see that. No excuses for rape or violence.
Exactly.
Looking at those the crime is not just for women, it's both for men and women. Yeah, there are others there. Violence against women and children. Women they are more vulnerable, and children they have little or nothing to how to protect themselves. So we are supposed to fight for them, and that is what we've been doing all this while. Stop violence against women. You could see they are there. They are not just wasting their time. There's something that has been plaguing the society for a very long time now. We need to eradicate that and to put a stop to that. Stop to sexual violence against women and girls. Stop violence on women. All this cry, time and again. That's what we are told. Stop the war on women's bodies. You need to go to the farm and maybe do some kind of work there if you have enough energy. Stop the war on women's bodies. Yes, you see. That's some men, they think that maybe they'll practice everything that they see on the social media on women. So we thank you very much, Madam Kindness. Just looking at that everybody is for the fact that we put a stop to sexual violence or gender-based violence, all those things and you've read them from the placards that we see over there. So how can this be prevented, Madam? What do you think can be done to put a stop on it?
Yes, Father. Like what we are doing now.
Yeah.
We should do a lot of outreach, media sensitization, door to door, everywhere we are daily. Let us speak. Let us begin from our homes as parents. Let us start doing it, because now even if you go, you talk to children, talk to nursery school kids. When we are doing this campaign, go to the school, you start talking. They are aware about it. So let us increase our voices. Let us make our voices loud to be heard. Every day, even in our congregations, let's bring it in our sermons.
every day. Let us talk about it. I think we are going to succeed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Anne. How can we prevent GBV in our society?
We should first of all start educating our children when they are very young about violence. Because when you make a child understand that if you hit your brother or sister with pain, that child will grow up with a culture of peace, knowing that if I hit my brother, I will pain. Another way, like Zainab talked, is continuous sensitization wherever we find ourselves. Mm-hmm. There are some homes that you talk about sexual education is a taboo. But I think gone are those days. Our children are watching on media. So what are you hiding from them? So instead, take time and talk with them. Make friends with your children. Make them to know that it is good to be friendly. You know, train the community to know that you are somebody who loves peace. Don't be violent. And also, be a neighbor's keeper. What do I mean? If you know that that neighbor is always beating the wife, come in and try to educate them. Help them to understand their own lives. Because when the person finally beats that woman or that man to death, you will always feel guilty. Now, why did I not say something about it? You know, because just like she says at times, you say, it's not my concern. Yeah. But it's your concern. Like that hospital, I'm sure those people, those beat somebody in your hospital until it gets to the point of death, and nobody made an attempt to save that person's life. I think we should start also giving punishment on those kind of accomplices. We call them accomplices. And then that will make us to know that violence is a bad thing. We don't make, our children should not react negatively to many things, because negativity brings in a lot of violence.
We have to talk about the effects on the effects, discuss about the effects on individual each time they were discussing or talking with other people. Yeah. We share experiences on what we have seen or maybe what we have experienced as victims or maybe of violence, of such violence. Another aspect is that all aspects concerning violence and abuse should be taken seriously. There are some of the issues we should take them very lightly. She was citing about the incident that happened in the hospital. I witnessed an incident in Boya here. Yeah. That was in Bongo Square, where a policeman was beating up a girl and then held her by the head, dragged her in front of the grandstand, and the population was watching. I went close, they told me it's an policier. I had to intervene. I intervened.
You see?
I intervened. They said, no touche pas, c'est un policier. The girl, she had marched and then she was dragging her. I said, well, I'm going to say in court that I came to prevent a human being from being killed. Yeah. That's all. And I took right up to right to the provincial chief. You know, they asked me that I should go to the Commissioner of Public Security. I went to the provincial chief, and it was addressed. You know, some of the issues when we go in there, it was addressed. The man was called. We went to the service social, and we were interrogated, and you know, the sanctions were given to him. Yeah. It was highly treated, and I was very comfortable about that. So further, we have another, let's say, some other 2 points in here, which I said what. I said we remember that. We have to remember ourselves, because the community thinks this way. Yeah. If I think this other way, they will say that I'm going out of community norms. As an individual, each and every one of us, it is good for us to take as a responsibility to take a stand. That this I cannot do. Like for example, me, I indicated that. So one day, I used to tell my students, you boys, I say, in here, never you punch a woman. Never. I said never you punch a woman. And now, because now if we look from the placards that move in there, they talk about the children and women. It is not that we are being a bit partial, but they are vulnerable.
That's vulnerable.
So there's a right to protect those who are vulnerable.
They're vulnerable, yeah.
So that's the situation in there. So it is good for us back at home. I give extra responsibility to parents, especially the daddies, because most of the time, as Madam said, I put in here, the parents are absentee landlords, especially the daddies. The mommies are mostly in the house. So I give special assignment and appeal. They should be able to don't always try to go get the culture of talking with their kids and educating them on a day-to-day. Informal education is also very important.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bo. We have a contribution. Good evening, Father, and greetings to all the mothers and all panelist members. Mothers should open up and protect their girl instead of covering up a crime to protect their marriages. And that's what Madam Zainab said. I'm sure Madam Anne also equally said that women should come out of their shells and stand for the, stand for maybe by saying not, or saying by saying not rape in marriage, no rape in marriage or marriages, on girl children, IDPs, and homeless or desperate cases. You know, women should stand up. This is from Madam Mary Delphine. Thank you very much for this. There is something which is very important. I thought we'll have to say that before leaving this place today. What do we have for victims of this GBV? What do we tell them? Because they're out there. You know, some have made up their minds not to get married and the rest. So how do we help this person?
We don't even call them victims. We call them survivors.
Survivors, yes.
Because we call a victim, you are already traumatized.
Yeah, so yeah, sorry.
So call them survivors.
What do you have for the survivors? Yeah.
For the survivors, we always tell them that it is not your fault. Don't blame yourself. Because most of many of them just go into their shell. They don't want to even come out of themselves and look at the society anymore. They don't want to move ahead because they think that the world has ended. No. When they come to our offices, always advise them. That's why there's always psychosocial counseling for most of them, to bring them out of the situation. Yeah. To tell them that you can still move on. You can still think and do other things which are more important. That's why this 2023 theme for 16-day activism, they say, invest to prevent violence against women and girls. Yeah. Because they know that most of them are vulnerable. And so we are telling them that if you are one of those who is out there watching, and you are a survivor, and you think that the world has ended, it has not. It has not. You can start all over. You just have to rekindle your mind and come back different and look at the world differently. Because as you said, someone will say, I hate men. I've also seen a few girls who say, I hate men. I don't like them. I feel like killing every man I see. I said, that's not a good mindset. You know, don't put that in your mind. It's one person who did that to you, and just get out of that and start looking positively to life. So they should not give up.
And Father, despite that they have speak out, despite that we have known them as survivors, we should not stigmatize them. We should protect them, and we should encourage them, because they are still human beings. They can still do more, and they can still live.
Yeah, this is for two of you. Mr. Bo will have something to say at the end of it. The lady I gave a lift today spoke more about when I was talking about this gender-based violence issue. She talked of this Filipino female. I don't know. I'm not a fan for that. I don't know how has it been? Maybe a contribution, or maybe or what?
Kado.
Yeah. Yes.
Kado is finished now.
Yes, so that it is kind of a PowerPoint, you know, to this whole issue of gender-based violence. What do you think about that? I don't know those who have been watching that. She was really like hands were on it. That parents need to do something. What do you think about it, Madam Zena?
It's just, you know, those are series that they watch, and we should make the children understand that that's acting. Yeah. That they are doing action. They are not doing the reality. Yeah. So they should not take it to heart and start behaving in that manner. Because a lot is acting. They act a drama, something that somebody is acting. So if they want to take it for real, then they'll end up killing everybody. Because Kado is out to kill.
But Kado never dies.
Kado never dies. That is
that's what I was told.
Yes, Father, there is this.
And some of them call themselves Kado.
We have even big people who call themselves
Kado.
Kado. Yeah. Yes, it's just like this Spider-Man. Yeah. Yes, the Spider-Man for kids. He is their cartoons. Yeah. That there was a child who demonstrated it, that he wants to become a Spider-Man, and he jumped from the upstairs and landed. Yeah, that's how he broke his leg. Yeah. It's the same thing like Kado. But the thing is that let us the parents, let us try to make our kids, to educate them on what they are watching. We cannot really say that we can stop them because they have their phones. They can still Google and watch them.
Yeah.
But let
so
us
need to guide them,
guide them and tell them that these things are just
their actions. They are not.
But we should not take it and practice what they are doing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bo. Maybe your last word to the viewers as far as this topic of today's edition is concerned. A stop to GBV or no to gender-based violence. What do you have for the viewers and very special friends of Mountain Echoes?
We just talk about the theme. It is fiction. To represent the society and satirize the views. That's the intention. Generally wish to drag the community to the state of, I want to use one word, love. Love should reign. Amor vinci omnia. Love should conquer all in our community. If there is love for one another, for our brothers and sisters, we live like one family, it will be very, very good. You know, love should prevail. And each time, for the victims, we indicate that, we have pastors, we have priests, we have counselors. There are areas where they should go and seek counsel. They should not sit and die in silence. They should go to those various areas, open up, and psychologically they will come out, and some have come out and they are better off than before than ever. Generally, we have to develop an attitude of love towards one another, and I always go back to cite the Reverend Dr. Billy Graham. All answer concerning human beings, the answer is found in the Bible. Let us always hold our Bible close to our hearts, you know, and read. We go to church. The reflections are going to act as a sort of healing to every despair or every disturbance or every effect of dissatisfaction or depression that we have in the community. But let us not be perpetrators, but we should be friends, and we should love one another as Christ has loved us. Love conquer all. I'm Vinci Omnia.
Yeah, thank you very much.